Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I've hit record and I'm gonna count us down here. So three, two, and also locking in with me today is Harold Eustache. You all remember him from a previous episode. He's also a really good friend of mine, retired military, former prosecutor, also currently a criminal defense attorney here in Forsyth County, and he's also seeking to lead the Forsyth County GOP. He could set history if he's elected. Harold, how you doing, man? Thanks for locking in with me.
Thanks. Good to see you, Algernon. I know we talk all the time, but good to see you, man.
Yeah, we talk offline a lot, but that's the reason why I do this show, man. It's all about trying to help my audience sort of learn and understand better what's going on with politics and business.
Yeah.
And I'm always very thankful that I can reach out to good friends like you to come in and shed light, man, and provide insight too, because there's so much going on. There's a lot of misleading information, and so we pride ourselves on making sure the locked in community has factual information so
Yeah.
they really know what's going on out in the world. But I'm gonna kick right into it, man. I mean, we're I just had this conversation with former Congressman Mark Walker. We were talking about this historic impeachment trial that has recently wrapped up. Obviously, President Trump was acquitted for a second time, so he is now the uncontested, undefeated heavyweight impeachment champion of the world. What did you think about the impeachment trial, man? You're an attorney. Was this process even constitutional or?
I didn't think it was constitutional at all. I mean, I've said that from the beginning. I thought that there were, I think the entire process had issues. I think, first off, in the impeachment itself in the House, I mean, which isn't talked about a lot. I think some of the defense attorneys in the trial did talk about this, but that was a snap impeachment, and it's never really been done before. And a lot of people are kind of missing that point. That we generally in an impeachment, you would hear, you would give notice to a person that's being impeached. That person would have a chance to be heard. Um, None of that happened in the House. I mean, they just bull rushed an impeachment through and sent it on to the Senate. And it's really a shame because that sort of impeachment is a serious thing in this country, and for the Democrat Party to push it through that way started it off in a way that really didn't allow due process to happen, and started off in an unconstitutional way, and it really kept going from there. I think the fact that one, there was no due process. Two, there's a quibble back and forth on whether or not you can impeach a former president. But it's interesting to me that the mainstream media made it out to be it's unequivocal that you can impeach a former president. It's not unequivocal. It is up for debate. There are certainly two sides to that. In my opinion, it is not proper to do that. And if somebody came and said, "So could we impeach President Obama today?" I would have the same answer. I think that we shouldn't do that, and we couldn't do that. So I thought the whole thing was pretty ridiculous, to be honest. And like I said, I think the biggest issue on the unconstitutionality is not just about being a former president. It was the due process issue. The courts have said that impeachment is depriving somebody of a right. And when you deprive somebody of a right, they have to have an opportunity to be heard and confront anyone that's attempting to deprive them. And so I think that was really unfortunate that it went that way.
Yeah, and I think legal scholars, as they're a little bit divided on whether or not this was constitutional as well. I mean, I think you had some even conservative legal scholars come out and make the argument that it was constitutional. You had several that made the argument that it certainly was not. I think, regardless of the legality question, I do think that we have now, with the second impeachment of a president, once while in office and the second while he's not in office, we have really politicized and to some degree weaponized the impeachment process. And I think we've probably opened some kind of a Pandora's box, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Republicans react to this when they regain control of Congress at some point in time,
And that,
and whether or not they come back and try to dig in at Democrats. A lot of the media narrative around the impeachment trial talked about how Republicans sort of towed the line in the Senate. They already went in, they already had a preconceived idea of how they wanted to vote. But they are supposed to be impartial jurors. I mean, what was your reaction to? And let me also say, I don't
mhm,
think necessarily it was just Republicans who went
mhm.
in already decided on how they wanted to
Right,
vote. I think Democrats went in as well. They didn't get as much attention in the media, but I think their minds were made up as well. I mean, are they supposed to be
I
impartial jurors, or how does this work?
right. I mean, well, they're supposed to be impartial, but on one sense, but in the other sense, impeachment is a political process. It's not a criminal one. And I think it is. I think it is funny that they say, well, these Republicans and they went in with preconceived notions. Who was the party that was ultimately the most impartial? It was the Republican Party, right? The Democrat Party was completely in the tank, and in fact, what's interesting is they kept the media kept saying, well, what are these 50 Republicans going to do? Completely ignoring that there are 50 other senators that are supposed to be impartial, supposed to hear evidence and make a decision based on the evidence they hear. But they didn't do that. Every single Democrat senator was lined up to vote to convict. And again, I think that's what's such an issue with this process is it just weaponizes impeachment, which I don't think is going to be good for the country because ultimately when the Republican Party gets power, it opens a box, it opens a precedent to start impeaching, officials that we don't like, and I think ultimately that won't be good for America. But it's unfortunate that since 2018, the Democrats have gone down this road.
Yeah, you would think from a probability perspective. I'm a math guy. I mean, if you just take the law of probabilities, there should have been at least one Democrat that actually voted to acquit after hearing the trial. So I think that's very interesting. Now on the Republican side, we thought going in there was probably 4 or 5 Republican senators that were going to vote to convict the president. People like Mitt Romney and Murkowski and maybe Senator Collins. But some of the shocking outcome we saw was that Senator Cassidy out of Louisiana voted to convict. But then also right here at home in North Carolina, Senator Burr also voted to convict the president. I think it feels like to me there's a little bit of a fractioning that's starting to happen or splintering that's happening within the Republican Party. Talk to me a little bit about what your reaction is to that. I mean, it almost feels like we're starting to divide into separate camps. Some camps that maybe Trump has control over, and then maybe camps that more centrist and center right Republicans have control over.
I, I think that's an interesting argument. I hear that we hear that all the time about is the Republican Party having its own internal civil war? My sense is that is mostly an argument driven, frankly, by the left. I don't think the party is as divided as everyone wants to make it out to be. Even for example, we look at this impeachment trial. The polls showed that about 90% of Republicans would 90% of Republicans polled said that Trump should not be convicted. About 90% of Democrats said Trump should be convicted, and about 50% of independents. So, it was very partisan amongst the populace. But what I think more importantly, that does show that the Republican Party is still pretty united. A lot of the polls, even to come out after January 6th and after this impeachment, show that Trump still has an 85% or so approval rating in the Republican Party. I think that the Romneys and Murkowskis and those folks are really on the outside of the bubble in the party. I think the vast majority of the party is a grassroots party that embraces the ideas of President Trump, and I think we're by and large unified behind that. And I think you see that when the people, Cassidy and Burr, who made these votes, when they are censured immediately by the state party and also unanimously. I think that shows where the party is. So I understand that there's some some fracturing there, but I think that's inherent in any political party, and I think that happens in both parties for sure. I don't think anything that's happening here is cause for incredible alarm. I think whenever you lose a presidential election and stuff like that, there's always this sort of infighting. I think that happened to the Democrats in 2016. It's happened before, so I'm not super concerned. I think that we're still a party that's pretty unified.
Well, you're also seeking to lead the local party. You put your hat in the ring to become the next Forsyth County GOP chair. If elected, you would be the first African American to be in that position, which is a significant milestone. I've read your website. You feel like it's time to take back the county, as you so say on your website. What do you mean by that? What needs to happen locally here with the Forsyth County Republican Party?
Yeah, and what's interesting about that term take back, that's become this sort of supercharged political term, and I thought about it as some people pointed out later, but really, what that means is Forsyth County has went from a county that was really one of the most split counties for its size in the entire country. It was a 50-50 Republican Democrat county. And in fact, in 2000, it was really a 55-45 county, where about 55% of votes, especially in presidential elections and other elections, were for Republicans and 45% for Democrats. And that's in the last 20 years, that's basically flipped to 55% Democrat and 45% Republican. And so initially somebody would think, well, that has to do with these demographic shifts and sort of stuff like that are happening all around the country. Not true. There is no demographic shift in Forsyth County. In fact, Forsyth County is about 1 or 2% more white than it was 20 years ago. There really isn't any significant demographic issue that's happening in Forsyth County, particularly. Really, what's happening is some of the independent voters in the last couple of elections have just trended more blue, and as a party here, I think it's important for us to get back to the basics, to get back to the things that make conservative ideals appealing to the masses, and really that's just about the simple things that matter to most people right now, like opening up small businesses, because the majority of the workforce in Forsyth County and really in the state and the country is employed by small businesses. Opening up our schools, because I know it is really draining as a parent, and I think every parent is feeling this, to become this part-time teacher, also working at the same time, and you feel like you're shortchanging your child. And so really pushing to get schools back open so that our kids can learn. And on the school point, that's leaving behind so many children in Forsyth County, especially children that don't have the resources that a lot of middle and upper class students, parents have to give their kids. So we're leaving a lot of kids behind. And so just really opening up the county and making those types of arguments, and not making, everything that happens in Forsyth County so much about DC or even Raleigh, but really about what's happening right here, right in our area. And I think ultimately, as a county party, if we push those ideas and those type of candidates, we will have success here.
So if my audience wanted to learn more about your candidacy, where should they go, Harold? Where should they go check out some of the information?
You can go to haroldeustache.com to check out some of the information. All my information's on there. I'm completely open to anybody, contact me on Facebook, contact me, you can call me, text me, whatever, email me. I'd be happy to talk to anybody. And that includes folks that disagree with the Republican Party or whatever. I've never shied away from talking to anybody about our community and what's going on in this country, and how we can all work together to get it better. So haroldeustache.com if you want to learn more about me and what I'm trying to do in this county. I'd love to talk to you.
And I personally would encourage my audience to go check out haroldeustache.com. Go learn more about Harold. He is a great political professional, has a lot of great insight. He's also a personal friend. I wish you a lot of luck in March at the convention. You certainly have my vote. And for my audience, if you are Republican, we would love to see you at the convention because we certainly want you to support Harold and his candidacy. Harold, thanks again for locking in with me, man.
Thank you, Algernon. Thank you. Good to see you, man.
And to my audience, I've got a new commentary. I got a new article op-ed I'm working on. It's going to be available at lockedin.cash. I'm going to be talking about Trumpism and just where we are within the Republican Party, more insight about what I believe could be happening in the future with the party. So look for that op-ed coming out soon. Again, that'll be at lockedin.cash. And until next time, y'all stay locked in.
Good stuff.
All right, man. Yeah, I think one of my earbuds went out, but the other one was still.
Oh, is it?
Because it's really a statewide group. And we got Dr. Pearl Burris Floyd down in Gaston County.
Yeah.
He's participating. Kevin Daniels. I mean, we got a really good group to pull together.
Yeah, great. Sounds great, man.
Awesome, man. I'm gonna jump out of here because I still got a bunch I got to get done before I
I
eat.
do too.
But if you need anything, just holler at me.
All
Okay.
right, man. All right. Have a good one, bro.
Take it easy.